What do you think? Should I do a Saturday video? I actually did one earlier, and then I got into talking about how we went to war and the Mexican government got the guy, and it's kind of a sign of good progress. Simply because some things are inevitable, right? If you're a really good bad guy, then at some point the good guys gotta come after you. Otherwise, the balance isn't just quite correct. Whether the United States is good guys or bad guys is entirely up to our perspective, right? As a guy living here, technically we're the good guys. Anybody that hurts, anybody that is actively anti-Christian and aims to harm Christianity or that side of God worshippers, yeah, technically they're an enemy. So I don't know, every side thinks that they're on the good side, right? However, it looks like the United States is more than capable of being a little bit more precise with their weaponry and their attacks. It's not just a random attack on civilians to try to teach you a lesson, right? Because that kind of goes into terroristic side of things, and therefore a little bit more morally frowned upon than just going for the bad guys. And then again, who the bad guy is entirely up to our collective perspective, it seems. However, it looks like we're doing pretty good. We're making progress. Check mark here, check mark there. So the world is making progress. What the hell am I doing just with my nose in some business that isn't my business? Well, technically, as soon as it becomes headlines, it's everybody's business, and we interact with it. And I know I liked a couple posts, so the algorithm gave me more information, and therefore, sometimes what the algorithm feeds me, I respond. Because, what's trending, what's popping, social media's kind of became more than just, I don't know, it's like interacting with the news, right? You can pick and choose which channels you tune into. You can like, aka vote, right? You can recommend the views, you can share the information, whereas live TV is a little bit more, yeah, it's a traditional way of trustworthy communication that we have debunked as to be less than trustworthy. So we turn to social media because it turns out that peer reviews and peer information and sharing from one to another, aka communication, is actually what the humans are really into. And I've been sloughing on these videos, huh? Sometimes I just gotta come on here and give you my 2 motherfucking cents. So anyways, the world is happening. I had my own little week and its own little dramas. I had some baby mama drama as far as dealing with child support situation. However, my baby mama drama is kind of smoothing out, and I like it. I'm hoping to be, I don't know, I can be humble where I need to be, right? Or more humble. I'm also a hard-headed piece of shit sometimes here and there. So if I can work on myself at least 2 days a month or 2 weeks a month, then we're making progress. And then hopefully next year I can work on myself three weeks a month, and then try to become a better person altogether. That's a tall fucking order. I'm kidding. So anyways, 4 minutes and nothing much has happened. I don't know what the fuck. I get on social media to just chop it up. I don't really have too many friends, so I'm just on here like, what up? What you guys doing? What's your opinion with this new war that just popped off? Pros and cons. We're we're highly strategic. We have some good information and some good weapons. So if we are debating the seriousness of human life and therefore trying to avert some extra casualties, because we don't want the heavy conscience, right? We can protect, we can go to war, we can do the thing, but there are reasons why war crimes are still crimes. It's all blurry and gray area, right? You're in the middle of killing the other party, and that's kind of the worst thing you could do to a person. So if you capture them, put them into slavery, and abuse them, technically that's not as bad as just killing them. So there are like gray areas, right? And what is torture? And then pulling back the curtains and the aggressiveness of the moment. What are war crimes, and how far is violence? I don't know. At which point is violence frowned upon, right? Outside of war. Because yes, I think violence needs to happen to protect your interests sometimes. Protect your interests and your people. Because it seems when communication fails and we have to act like animals, well, the survivor wins, right? So sometimes we're like, fuck communication, we're animals right now. And then sometimes we try to be a little bit more diplomatic and sophisticated and problem solving, and that's pretty cool. I guess that's what makes us humans such complex and beautiful creatures, is we have 1,000 options of attacking life and each other, and yet we choose to coexist for the most part. That's pretty cool. So, but we also, it seems like we technically like each other, right? I know in America a little bit of racism happens, but if you think about it, all sorts of people come and live with us. We work with all sorts of people. Wherever we work, the customers we serve are all sorts of people. And unless they prove to be a piece of shit, a difficult customer, a difficult boss, or a difficult employee, then we choose to be like, well, there's also quite other things that I could nitpick, right? And because racism and human inequality is such a prevalent piece of our vocabulary nowadays, it's easy to just be like narcissist, racist, Nazi, shallow-minded, or stuck up, or mega, or whatever, or leftist. Just all these labels that just supposed to mean something, like it's a sticker, a pronunciation, or a final declaration of what it is, right? And then we're like, but that's just like one small aspect of a human, of that dude, of that person, of that lady. So, for example, me and my baby mama used to be married for 8 years. I loved the lady. She seemed to like me until we started fighting, right? And then I'm assuming because there was a lot of feelings involved, sometimes you fight a little bit dirtier to just get that last final dig, right? To make sure that you win the argument. Or sometimes you just want to do all the things that you imagined doing to them in the previous fights in your head, right? So she gave me a good run for my money, and I feel like I gave her a good run for her money. And I could be like, I'm an angel, this and that, when technically we were fighting and I wasn't losing, or I wasn't trying to be losing, right? So hell yeah, I threw in my little 2 cents and a little bit of vocabulary and a little bit of opinionated hatred, and just to let her know, But when the heat of the moment faded, I was like, oh, despite all the bad words I called her, despite all the bad things she told me, after 2 years, my memory is like, that lady was kind of cool. That lady has my kid. Like, what's the situation, it becomes more of a curiosity on what the hell are they doing over there? Like, what's going on? Instead of, fuck that bitch, you know? Because, hey, I love my kid, but fighting aside, like, I kind of like that lady too. So after a while, that kind of becomes more apparent. And why did I just tell you that? Oh, perhaps. Well, this week I did a little bit of more of communication with her, and we have to become on better terms if we're going to be co-parenting. And so it's kind of a prevalent topic for me this week. And then lo and behold, Saturday, we woke up to being at war with Iran. And it looks like it's about lunchtime, and they confirmed that they killed the leader, which was kind of a bad dude, right? Even his own people hated him. So let's see. So if a shitty leader got killed, perhaps we just kind of wait and see how they treat the next guy, right? Or what the next guy does. All people, or not all people are evil. Not all people have this deep drive, deep hatred for the enemy. It's a pretty good fuel to just kind of be pent up with anger and aggression, especially towards somebody you disagree with or you hate or who done you wrong. But if we let that go, there's kind of a freedom there, because I don't know. There's like 99.9 other things that I can think about instead of having a shitty day at work, for example, right? I kind of had a little tiff situation at work, and it sparked the idea, like, am I the type, at work, for example, am I the type to get in a fight over a misunderstanding or a disagreement at work? Or am I perfectly capable of A, finding a different job, but B, like, I don't know, like some self-respect before it gets too animalistic, right? Let me just change the scene. And sometimes it's worthwhile, but sometimes, like, you gotta troubleshoot through the issues, because this is no longer a disposable era, right? Disposable, replaceable era. So if we have good quality products, good quality people, then fine-tuning situations is a little bit better than just searching for the new, you know, new product, new person, new whatever. And that was actually kind of cool that my boss broke it down to me like that. He said, yeah, you could have a little fucking tantrum and just walk off. We both done that, and it kind of didn't yield too much fruit, but we can troubleshoot it. You know, it was just another day at the repair shop. And I was like, damn, I wasn't expecting a solid conversation, but I wasn't expecting a good perspective either. So yeah, sometimes you gotta troubleshoot through situations. Sometimes you gotta go separate ways, and then sometimes you just gotta declare war. And what's what, right? So I don't run a country. I can't just send armies after people. And if I did, it would kind of be worse quality people. I would be a little bit more concerned with bigger issues than hanging on to a bad day at work, hanging on to being attacked by baby mama, or getting some fucking hateful comment about how handsome I am on Instagram, for example. Don't you disagree with that? Actually, you could. You should disagree with that if you're not gay. I guess that's the end of the video. Maybe I'll cut that out. Maybe I won't. What? Well, so I do like females. Just FYI. One day I'll find another wife who's going to be the gift from God that I think that I deserve. In the meantime, like, A bad partner is kind of a big life lesson, right? But then some of these bad partners are so hot, and they're full of problems, and they're full of their own personality, and they make their own choices, and they have many more options than just my 2.5 options. Anyways, so good for them, and life is a bit more complicated. I don't know where I was at. Oh yeah, many people watch my shit. I don't know for what reason, but sometimes I talk about topics, you know. Anyways, March is like tomorrow, so this is March Eve. Are you guys tired of me? Tired of watching me and listening to me smack this fucking gum around my mouth? All right, I'm bye for real.